Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Special guest today is my mayor, our mayor, Mayor Daniella Levine Cava. Thank you so much for being here, Mayor.
I love being with you, Michael.
All right. And, you know, I was looking back and I realized it was about either late 2018 or early 2019. A mutual friend of ours said, Michael, I want you to meet this lady who wants to run for commission.
No, it was longer ago than that.
Is that right?
Yes, it was in 2013.
Wow.
Or it could have been 2014, but yes, it was early.
And you said, what do you think about me running for the seat? And if I remember right, you know, it's really hard to come.
You did say that. You didn't have any confidence in me.
So it wasn't about you. It was about the hierarchy that we built down here.
Yes.
So you've been in office for a long time. You ran for commission, right? You're there for
6 years.
6 years. Seems like it was much shorter than that. And you said, okay, I want to become mayor. And you did that.
Yeah.
And you actually have done it twice. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
This period of time that we are all going through, which is on every level, local, statewide, national, international, is pretty traumatic for people. And we see it around town. Everybody's really on edge. And so most recently, when the budget came in and you and the commission, because the commission votes on that.
Correct. It's their budget at the end of the day.
It's not, you just happen to be that person that presents it to them, and then they decide.
Correct.
So it's some $400 million deficit. People want to know, was that a surprise? And when they ask me, I go, how could it have been a surprise? It's a $12 billion a year company. So explain to people why it seems that the public just found out about this and so many people are in shock because of that.
Yeah. So this is the result primarily, many causes, but the main one is the new constitutional offices. So yes, we've been planning for it, and we knew that we would have to set up these new offices. Basically, you've got 6 government agencies instead of 1.
Why don't we tell people which departments?
Yeah. So we had already the property appraiser and the clerk of courts, but their administration was more combined with the county's general administration. And now they're separate individual constitutional offices, and they are spending money to establish themselves as independent. As well, we have 3 new ones: the sheriff, which we hadn't had in 60 years, an elected sheriff, and a tax collector and election supervisor. So in total, we've got 5, each of them with their own setups, we'll call it that. You could say bureaucracy, right? Because it is government. And we've been trying to be efficient about it. We projected a growth factor for them. We knew they'd have to set up their offices. And at the end of the day, we didn't know how big it would be until they were elected and they made their budgets. But the biggest single cause of it is one, which is the tax collector, because his budget is prepared differently. He gets to keep the money as a commission, 2% off the top, all the taxes collected, including the county is on the hook, as in county government, for the school system and for the cities now. So the cities are not paying the 2%. The school board is not paying 2%. It's coming out of the general fund of the county. But that wasn't the only reason. It wasn't just constitutionals.
And those are elected office, they elected November.
Correct. They were elected and now they're serving. And by the way, they pretty much have negotiated 3 of them with us and come within what we had projected as reasonable growth. 2 that are outliers, the tax collector, which makes up almost a quarter of that deficit because he takes the money first, and he hasn't told us yet, or hasn't really been required to tell us if he's putting money back in the pot, which if he doesn't get to spend it in this coming year, it goes back in the pot to the general fund, but we won't know that necessarily for a while. So August we'll get a projection, but we're hopeful that there'll be some money back in the pot because he won't spend it all.
Department took over the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yes, which is an additional responsibility. And to be very clear, that costs money. It was an unfunded state mandate for him to take it over. And so we know that does cost money.
We know that people dreaded having to go to the Driver's License Bureau.
Yes.
For my entire life,
yeah,
the joke around town is go down there, you can sit there for hours and hours and hours.
Yes.
I think that it's been taken care of. I'm not sure. But
I think he's done a very good job of moving quickly to help to address that and some other issues. But at the end of the day, it costs us more money. Yes. So just to be clear, it all comes from the same pot.
Yes.
And the other thing is we have inflation. Now we have tariffs, so this drives up the prices. We also have cuts that have already happened at the state and federal levels. For example, our state budget, when they finally came out with it at the end of June, had another, 70 million that we had to lop off. So, we've been working hard to stay abreast of all of this, and it's really been hard.
So looking back, the county implemented a tax reduction in the last 2 fiscal years.
Yes.
Looking back.
Well, it wasn't actually last year. It was before that.
Okay.
But yes, we're at the lowest tax rate since 1982. We cut the millage rate, understanding that we'd had growth in our property rolls. People were still struggling. The cost of living had shot up, particularly housing. And so we were able to give that back. We don't think it's a year to raise taxes. So we proposed a flat millage, so the same rate. And the commission so far has agreed with that, although they do have a final vote later, and we hope they'll stay with it. Otherwise, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and cut into really core services.
So one of the big departments that was created was the sheriff's department.
Correct. And that's all out of general fund. So there's no, some of the departments are not as affected. The airport, the seaport, water and sewer, garbage. Those are all paid for by funds that are right there in those departments. But we can't take dollars from a well-performing airport, for example, and use it to plug holes in parks.
So I understand that the sheriff's department wanted a whole bunch more money.
Yes.
Is that more than what you anticipated?
Absolutely. So we projected reasonable growth. And by the way, in my tenure as mayor, when I was responsible for police, we increased that budget every year. On average, it was at 8%. So we definitely have increased the budget. We provided long overdue increases in salaries that had been pending and had not been given prior. So we have always supported public safety. It is number one. And so by the way, they don't own the property. The county owns all the property. So that's not an additional expense. We believe that what we projected was a reasonable growth and that it's in keeping with the success that we've had. We're one of the safest metropolitan areas in the country.
And we're delighted to hear that. We happen to be in the city of South Miami, and I'm so pleased with our service that's here.
Yeah.
In the past, I've had, even though it's not the county, I had the occasion to call police, sometimes 45 seconds they're here.
Oh my, that's wonderful.
And we enjoy that. So let's talk about some of the cuts that you've had to make. The ones that are important to me, let's talk about the not-for-profits. Number one, how were those not-for-profits selected, the ones with reduction, and what percentage of what they got before are they getting today? 0 or 5, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. So there are a few groups of the nonprofits, so we try to be clear about that. We have a competitive grant pool that's about 16 million, and those were grants that originally were going to be 3 years at a time, and then it was going to be resolicited. Actually, those nonprofits that were in that pot got the funding for 10 years, including increases for cost of living, which I built in. I'm a nonprofit leader, maven. This is where I come from.
Social workers
and a social worker and a public interest lawyer. These are my people. These are my causes. These are the things that I have cared so much. We've also built in capacity building for nonprofits. So that to be said, that 16 million was never expected to just repeat with the same groups. We did a new solicitation. We never finalized it. So we never said who was expecting to get it, but it wasn't going to be the same exact group. So there's that, which was competitive. Then there are others that are in the budget multi-year, but it's general fund. This is all about the general fund. So that's property taxes and some state taxes, which the state taxes have reduced and property is not growing at the same rate. But regardless, we now have several that were in the budget for multiple year that also are general fund and we cannot afford. But then we also had one-time funding that everybody got the money because they're providing an important service. It came from those federal dollars for a rescue plan, and those dollars finished. We don't have them anymore. And we knew that, not just me, but the commission. The commission, of course, has a lot of programs they wanted to support. And so we needed to help people understand this was not going to be multi-year, but nonetheless, they are hopeful that it would be multi-year. And unfortunately, we just do not have those dollars. $402 million. That is a lot of money to cut, and there aren't that many places we can cut it.
Okay. And then one of the things that we know that the state is implementing is the new Department of Governmental Efficiency,
Doge.
DOGE, right? Interesting name. I understand they're going to be here before too long. Next on the list, Broward
Well,
County.
that wasn't a definite. That was just a suggestion. We are fully complying with the state Doge. They ask for all counties to produce financial records. We produce those records. We don't think there's any basis for a deeper audit, but of course we're here to provide
And this is
information.
across the board throughout the state of Florida. The
Yeah.
64 counties plus
67, and then
67.
they all are producing documents. And of course, since we're the largest county, it's a lot of information. We also have the clerk, now clerk and comptroller, that handles the county's finance. So of course, we're working with that office to produce all the records.
So many changes.
Many, many, many changes.
I know,
Yes.
it's incredible.
Yes.
So let's talk about how the people that are not as well off as a lot of people. What are we doing as county government to continue to help?
I'm really glad you're asking that question, Michael. You know, I care so much about this. I came into office because of my work in the nonprofit sector, because of my work helping people to get ahead, growing the middle class. So a few things really important. We are maintaining, in my proposed budget, all of the essential transit services. So we are growing our transit ridership. Traffic is really horrendous, and the only solution is good transit. And we have grown our ridership on the Metro Rail 10% across the board. It's way up. I don't think there's another major metropolitan area that has increased transit post-pandemic, and we've done it. And we've grown from the 15th largest to the 10th largest transit system. We're about to open a revolutionary new corridor. The South Dade Transitway is getting Metro Express. We just took a tour.
My list of things.
Yeah, look, it's amazing. It's going to save up to 45 minutes in the way south to Dadeland commute, and it's the biggest thing that's happened in transit since 2012. So it's really a big deal.
Let's talk about electric buses.
Yes.
Somebody puts a bug in my ear. You need to ask her about that.
Yes.
Because when the battery is over, they got it buried in the ground in glass. Now, I looked it up. I couldn't quite find that. So electric buses are going to last about how long? More or less.
Well, we have a new facility that is up and running to charge these buses. By the way, people may know about another bus company that went bankrupt and the parts are not available. And this is a nationwide problem because many purchased from that. That was not when I was mayor, the purchase, by the way. But this is another company, New Flyer, that has a great reputation. They've been working successfully. And we have a designated charging station that is also state of the art in South Dade.
Given the temporary finance situation with the county, do you think that the acquisition of the electric buses, which cost a little bit more, all right, is something that you should look at and maybe hold off on, or do you still?
Oh no, we're all about it. Look.
Hold on one second. I asked the question. All right, there you go.
So not only for the environment, look, we know the planet is warming. We could debate exactly how it all came to pass, but for sure, carbon production warms the atmosphere, and we have a hotter planet and so on. So we are doing our part by going to electric, and it's also saving us money because we're charging. We're not, it reduces what we're paying the utility company. We are reducing our costs by going electric.
Glad you brought that.
And it's quiet and it's efficient. And it's level boarding, and you can charge your phone, and you can save time, and you get traffic light preemption. So it's a great thing.
Let's talk about the waste to energy incinerator.
Yeah.
In 2023, the Doral plant burnt down, and so I know there hasn't been a normal day since. And you're acutely aware of that. So what's the latest on when and where a site might be picked?
Yeah. So the commission did finally decide, it was an important decision, and it took a while to make it, that they wanted to invest in a waste to energy facility. Now, this is not your mother's waste to energy facility or your grandmother's, right? It's a new technology that is very clean. It's being deployed all around the world. And we don't have enough space to just keep storing garbage. So on balance, I do think it's reasonable. We certainly had folks saying we should continue to landfill. We don't have space in Miami-Dade to landfill, so we were sending this by truck and more recently train to Okeechobee, where they welcome it because they collect fees to receive it. So that's what we've been doing. And by the way, we'll be doing that for the next 8 to 10 years while we build a new plant. As to where, it's not determined. So the commission gave us a lot of don't put it here, don't put it there. And of course, we're exploring the remaining sites.
And you present that to the commission. They vote on where it's going to go.
Correct.
You present the facts.
Well, yes. So actually what they did is they identified a couple of companies because we asked for all possible companies to give solutions. They identified a couple that seemed that they had the capacity to deliver a product for us of a new modern clean waste to energy facility. And they said that those companies should tell us what is the best location. So we're talking to them. It's a tight time frame. We're going to do our very best to get from them their advice. And then, of course, these are not properties that we own. So we have to negotiate with landlords about them. So there are definitely some steps.
People talk about zero waste. Is that even a possibility?
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get to zero, but we can refuse, right? We can reuse, we can recycle, and we need to do all of that. So the zero waste plan includes all of those things. Producing less of it. We produce twice the national average of garbage.
And that's because of?
Well, tourism is a big feature. So we definitely need to try to get our hospitality industry online. But I think it's also habits. People, look, we have to improve our recycling, and we are improving it.
I am glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Quite humbly, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. I
think that most people in Dade County have no working knowledge of recycling. I think it is terrible. I'm in the communication business. And I look for it and I can't find it.
Yes.
But after dozens of conversations, every week we deal with the solid waste. We have great programs, including Jean Marie Massey, talking about recycling. After all those conversations, my wife and I went out and bought a composter for the house because I wanted to see how it worked. And folks, it works. We put it in the house. Yes. It makes no noise. We put everything but steak bones in there. It turns it into dirt.
Yes.
Right? And it's an amazing process.
Right. I also compost at my house.
I know you've have talked to former City of Miami Commissioner Ken Russell, and he's been bending your ear a little bit about the zero waste type of thing. Something needs to be done sooner than later, because the thought of all that garbage going somewhere else.
Yes, it's about 40%. About 40% of the landfill garbage is actually organic. Yes. That potentially can't all be recycled. It can't all be composted. So we have a really complicated situation here about composting because our water table is right below the surface. And so we have to be very mindful of what we compost because it will leach into the water supply. So that is why we have, I will call it some higher standards than some other places, but we are working through it. There is legislation that is going to facilitate our being able to compost commercially, right? We can all compost on our land. Yes. That's never an issue. Right. But to compost commercially, we do need to look at these rules to make sure that we're not compromising our water supply. And we're on the process. We're on the way.
I'm glad you brought up water because we have a couple things. We have sea change. We have the flooding downtown Miami.
Yeah.
We have the extra water coming in from the hurricanes, which hopefully we'll miss them. What's the county doing to try to deal with this?
So I'm the water warrior, you may have heard. So I'm very much focused on our clean bay. The bay is a $64 billion enterprise. It's our economy, it's our health, it's our quality of life. We have increased monitoring of the bay. We've been able, by the way, maybe you've noticed, we haven't had a major fish kill in quite a few years. That is something that I have focused my attention on. We are doing more to keep pollution out of the bay. You cannot use fertilizer during the rainy season because that's too much runoff into the bay. Nutrients is what causes the pollution. We are doing more monitoring of construction sites. We're converting more septic systems to clean sewer that keeps because the septics, with sea level rising, the septic systems are compromised and they're polluting runoff into our waterways. So that's some about keeping our water clean.
Let's talk a little bit about septic tanks. I understand there are about 9,000 homes that have been tagged as a problem. Is that?
Yeah, so we have a group that are the most compromised that we are proceeding to move as fast as we can to convert them. Some of them, I think it's 1,200, are the ones that are actually considered compromised right now. And then there's the next out. It's expensive. You have to have the main trunk lines nearby, and then the laterals come down the street, and then the individual homeowners have to pay to connect.
It's pretty pricey to connect that.
Well, yes.
For the county and for the homeowner.
Right. So we are working on ways to support financing for the homeowner, and we have had some grants as well to help. The main lines are the more expensive ones, and then the laterals on the street. The challenge has been that you can't charge current ratepayers for future ratepayers. There's some amount that limits our ability to do that. But we're looking at, again, ways that we can move the financing forward so that we can move more rapidly. Obviously, it is critically important. And our program is called Connect to Protect. And we are aggressively pursuing in certain key areas that are lower lying. And we've already done quite a bit, and you will see more progress being made in the near future.
So what are some things that the county is doing or can do to have more transparency and more connection to the people?
Yeah. So I came into office as a social worker. We already said it's all about engagement. I am here in office to work directly with the community, as I've always done throughout my life, not just my career. And the first thing I did as mayor was the Thrive 305 campaign. We listened to, a huge percentage, the biggest engagement campaign ever. I have an office of engagement.
20,000 plus?
Yeah, it was a full 1% of the population. So, we're almost at 3 million. So I guess it was like 300,000 that we listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And we used it to shape our priorities and our budget. We also use the budget every year as an opportunity. This year, we're doing more than ever and earlier than ever because of the challenges within the budget. So we are already in the midst of our budget hearing. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this budget because it has been so hard. I mentioned transit, housing. We had doubled the amount of money that we spent on housing that people could afford, and that's still in our budget. We also still are advising people who are facing evictions or difficulty finding a place to live. We have a very effective Office of Housing Advocacy, and that continues. We also have a robust social service program in the county, and juvenile services and senior programs. All of those things still exist. And what we're doing going forward is even more partnership with community organizations, because there are many wonderful organizations, but we're not always coordinated. We might be duplicating. We might not be sharing resources. We are offering to those organizations our county space. Come and show up at our community service centers, our libraries, our parks. Offer programming there. We support you to be able to have what I call no wrong door. As a social worker, that's my commitment, that we want people to be able to get the help they need wherever they go. And by the way, the libraries are a key part of that.
I've heard the word library probably 15 times in the last couple of days. I had a conversation with Gloria Burns this morning. She said, "Oh, we've been doing a lot of events at libraries wherever they are."
Yes, the libraries are fantastic.
Let's talk a little bit about autism and related disorders. Grant and I became acutely aware of the situation in the last couple of years and have worked diligently to have that conversation. What services might be available to parents and to siblings for their autistic child, and also for them because of the emotional impact that it has on their family?
Well, we're fortunate that we have incredible champions on the county commission. Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Gilbert, they both have children on the spectrum. And so they have been very effective in expanding opportunities. So we also have an Office of Americans with Disability Act that makes sure that we hire people on the spectrum as well as provide access. And I have increased that office, I think eightfold, to make sure that we were providing those
When
services.
Commissioner Regalado was here, it's really stuck with me. She said, those people deserve a seat at the table. And so Grant and I have taken that to heart to try to continue to have that conversation. We now have a show once a week with a dad. He wears a hat that says Autism Dad. He has one child, 8 years old, who's, I think, nonverbal. And he brings parents in all the time.
Oh, that's great.
All the time.
Really great.
And there's one young lady, she's in the industry now. Her twins were 17 and a half months old. They were perfect. And 2 weeks later, they were totally non-communicative.
Oh my God, how devastating.
Husband left. She lost her job.
Oh.
My job now, Michael, is to get them to transition to adulthood. So we realize it's just not this little thing. It is a major thing. So
Absolutely.
I hope we continue along that level.
Yeah. Could I say a few more things about our budget? So again, $402 million, very difficult task to find from the general fund ways to stay within our means. Just like everybody else with cost of living going up and all the headwinds, we had to tighten our belts, and we looked at what were the basic services that we needed to continue. So obviously the trash is picked up, clean water flows through your tap, the transit, as I mentioned, the housing support. So those things have not been compromised at all in this budget. Unfortunately, some of the things that we love and care about are not considered as core. And be able to balance the budget, we had to offer up those cuts. So we have cut staff. We have 360 positions that are eliminated from the general fund portion of the budget. In my office, we cut back 10%. We saved $1.4 million in my budget. We are reducing some programming in the parks, which is, of course, unfortunate, but necessary. We cut those general fund departments from between 10 to 35% to balance the budget. And, we've streamlined departments. We've combined 6 departments into 3. I had already combined a few departments to create efficiencies. All of those things are difficult, but necessary. And so we've made some really difficult choices, and I hope people can understand I can't just wave a magic wand and put those funds back in.
Yes.
We're hopeful that the tax collector will be able to put some more money back in the pot. We hope that the state will stop cutting our budget. We hope that the federal government will stop eliminating programs like they have already eliminated, right? We depend on the federal government to meet the needs of special needs people, for example. That is not being prioritized at the federal level. So, we just have to understand the budget is complicated. It's not all dependent upon people's property taxes. We know people don't want to pay more in property taxes, and we are asking the public to help us to understand these hard choices.
There's been talk about eliminating property taxes. I'm not quite sure whose idea that was. I'm not sure that it matters. But is that a real conversation that's taking place?
Well, if we were to eliminate property taxes, we would be eliminating law enforcement. We would be eliminating parks and transit and public works, road repairs, and basically basic county government.
So whoever's listening, take that into heart.
Yes.
Let's talk about animal services. We had
animal services too, also general fund.
Annette Jose.
Yes.
She was here. We showed off some dogs. We couldn't get them adopted, but we tried. People love their pets most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of the family until it gets really tough. And I've listened to some of those phone calls that when the facility was jammed up, they couldn't take them. But recently, it's been pretty smooth there.
Well, I'll tell you what. We have the Medley, which is an overflow facility. It was not intended to continue to have animals, even though it was the main shelter for decades, I suppose. But with people, some apartments are not allowing pets. And as it's been more competitive to get into apartments, they've been able to exclude it. So some people can't take their pets to their homes and they're abandoning them. Of course, we have animals that are abandoned out in the field in Redland and other places. The number has gone up and up. And recently, I have to tell you, with the appeals that we've made, it's coming back down again. So I'm very relieved. People need to help us, not just adopt, but if you're not ready to adopt, foster, take in a pet for a while. You may decide that you cannot part with that animal, or even take the pet out for an adventure, for a day or for a weekend or a holiday. This helps the animals to survive being in the facility for long periods of time. So we have that. We also, people are stepping up, but not enough. We need more help.
So as you are acutely aware, we have this thing called the Everglades alligator alcatraz. Would you care to comment about that?
Well, it's very disturbing. This is county property. It's part of our aviation department. It was originally going to be a huge airport, but that was stopped by environmental activism. And so one runway remains, and the state, using executive powers that the governor has through an executive order based on immigration concerns, was able to just come in and take over that property and then build what we've seen. So this is not anything with our permission, with our approval, and yet, because of the emergency powers and also because of legislation that was passed by the state legislature that requires counties to facilitate immigration enforcement, there wasn't that much we could do right away. There are now several lawsuits pending. We have asked, it's our property, we've asked to go on premises to monitor. I'm concerned about the environmental impacts as well as the humanitarian concerns. So all of that, I've spoken out, and we are ready to say to the state that we have the right to be on that land.
There were conversations that I heard that some folks were considering moving the waste energy.
That was a unfortunate comment from a couple of commissioners. Obviously, this is environmentally endangered lands, and we cannot use it as a garbage dump.
And speaking of that, I know it's mostly a state issue, but concerning the pythons that have eaten all the four-legged, two-legged.
Yes, it's just devastating.
I'm not quite sure how that's going to wind up, other than a virus that's going to kill them. I'm so pleased that my 38-year-old beautiful daughter with blue eyes and blonde hair was out
doing a python hunt
on Sunday.
Well, I've heard a few things. Obviously, they put radio transmitters in the females, and then they can find where they are because they gather around, right? But there was something else new recently, so maybe they'll have some breakthroughs.
We hope so. As you know, Strive 305 Films here. Tell us
Yes.
about that initiative and how it came up.
Well, we need jobs. We need jobs that pay well. We need to support our entrepreneurs. They are the backbone still of our economy, the small business. When I was commissioner, I started essentially Strive 305. And then when I became mayor, I started at my district. When I became mayor, I made it countywide. And it's been highly successful. We've been able to reach, is it 15% of our small businesses? And we're on our way to 75%. So we have a hub. It's an online delivery of services. We also do coaching and mentoring. We have ambassadors that go out and support individual businesses. We actually go to them, and we have even helped them come into a marketplace. We've helped them do the promotion. So it's been very successful and very motivational.
When I watch what they're doing, and all the businesses that come in here, and the smiles that are on these people's faces, it's really extraordinary. So congratulations to that.
Yes.
And to all the folks that I won't mention a few of the people. All right, what a terrific job that they're doing.
Thank you.
Very, very friendly, and when they come over, they really do a great show. I think last week it was in Portuguese. New crew.
Yes, I heard we're doing multiple
Spanish,
languages. Yes.
And then the other one in English also, right? So it was really tremendous. And it's really, we're really looking forward to continue that.
Thank you for joining us on
Yeah.
that. Yes.
And well, also CITT does a show here every day. I mean, every Thursday. They were here
yeah,
this morning.
yeah.
And really connecting. And that's what community newspapers is about, connecting people and bringing people together. That's what we've been able to do. And Bill Diggs comes here once every 2 weeks or so.
Great, great.
And we're happy to do that. School board does a lot of work here. And let's talk a little bit about the police, all right? And
The sheriff.
The sheriff, I'm sorry, the sheriff. That when the new sheriff took over a few months ago, it was following the Freddie, I think was his name.
Yes, Freddie Ramirez was our.
He was having a lot of stress, and there was involvement with a gun, and he got shot himself, but he's surviving, and hopefully he's thriving. But let's talk about mental health care for our first responders.
Yes, look, I've attended too many funerals for our first responders who have sadly taken their own lives. Most recently, a firefighter, and it is so real that they are under such tremendous stress. They see the worst of the worst, and they don't necessarily understand the toll it takes on them, and they don't necessarily seek help. So we have a very robust assistance program in the county, and even in now it was the police. I hope and trust the sheriff's office is doing the same. A unit of dedicated therapists who help. And it's not that they just you go in the door and make an appointment. They actually show up on the scene whenever there is a crisis. So they become part of the conversation. It's a really important model. And then our fire department joined forces to do the same. And so we really understand that we need to extend ourselves.
One of the things we recognize when somebody can look at a TV or an ad somewhere and they go, I relate to that. When Michael Phelps was on TV and he said, listen, I was having some problems and I picked out a therapist, Simone Biles. When those things happen,
absolutely,
we feel more comfortable.
Yes.
So if there was ever be a campaign, maybe there's somebody that was having some struggles to be able to do that, to get up so they can relate to that.
Yes, and the widow of one of the recent suicides has launched an effort as well, a campaign, and working closely with our fire department.
What's the name of the show? What is it?
I'll have to get you
there. Does a show here.
That
with Jen Herrera.
Okay, yes. That's exactly right. Well, she is fabulous, and she, when people take a tragedy and they turn it into something for the benefit of the world, that's a very special thing.
One of the things that we've recognized, nature pours a vacuum. And Grant and I have been fortunate to be able to say, there's this with the cuts that have gone on with the not-for-profits, we recognize that they need an opportunity to chat about themselves. So we've given them.
Oh, what a wonderful idea. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure to do that.
Yeah.
I know you have a zillion things to do today. Mayor, thank you so much for being here.
No, Michael, what you do here at the community newspapers, you and Grant, is truly a blessing, and we all benefit so much from your tremendous efforts. Thank you.
I got 30 more seconds. I was with a rabbi the other day, and he said, Michael, sometimes there's NC. I go, what is NC? He says, there's no choice. I said, okay, well, I'll tell you about the no choice. Back in November, Willard Shepard and I and Grant got 3 students from Columbus High School, went to Broward County, interviewed a 105-year-old Jewish soldier who helped part of the Allied troops that helped release some of the kids from the concentration camps. While there, he guarded Hitler's home, and he got all this Hitler's stationery and sent letters to everybody. Well, they found one of the letters to his wife. So we received an Emmy nomination for that. And those kids, say age 17, can always say that they were part of that. So I was so moved. It was one of those NC moments. What am I going to do? So we just finished a series of interviewing 7 Holocaust survivors. And then, so there's each individual, and then we put it together. And we're really pleased to be able to do that and to present that. Vera Sachs, who's been with us for many years, both her adult children live in Israel with their grandchildren. And the other day she was talking to them, and the child, 40-year-old, saying, Mom, I gotta go in the bomb shelter. So sometimes you just gotta do it because it's the right thing. She's over there now. So it's because of the people that support us, we can do things like that. And I appreciate the county's effort with that.
Oh, God bless. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. And we're going to why don't you send a message to people right there with the red camera?
We live in paradise. And I'm so grateful to be your mayor in good times and in challenging times. And we are going to get through this together like we always do. And we're going to find a path to make sure that people get the help they need and that they can enjoy art and culture, which uplifts us all. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Folks, remember, take care of yourselves and your family. Give them a hug today. Bye now.